What's good, everybody? Matthew Broomfield back with another video. As you know, the NBA All-Star starters have been revealed, so we definitely have to get into it. I first want to say that I don't think there was any snubs this year. Obviously, in my opinion, I think they did a very good job, but there are always going to still be things in question when it comes to this process, and also a couple things that maybe have been shed more to light that we have to discuss. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let's start off with the Eastern Conference. Obviously, there are a lot of no-brainers across the board with these starters. I don't think anybody was like second guessing or actually surprised when this list came out. And so I'm gonna name all the East starters and then I'm gonna get into the Eastern Conference before I even move on to the Western Conference. So obviously the leader, the captain this year is Kevin Durant. No question in my mind about it. I mean, averaging 29 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. Unfortunately, though, he did suffer an injury a couple weeks back. Had an MCL sprain, and so we may not see him get burned in the All-Star game. He might have to miss out on it. Hopefully, he gets healthier by then so we can see him play. But I mean, it's just a big possibility that he probably won't play. But we'll talk about that later. And who's probably going to replace him, who I think should replace him. Next, obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Once again, no-brainer. 28 points, 6 assists, 11 rebounds. Obviously, coming off of the NBA championship year, he's definitely hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, Milwaukee is always a good team. They probably haven't been doing as good as people expected them to be, but they're still in the running always. And Giannis is just a premier rare talent that we haven't seen in years. Joel Embiid, another no-brainer, up for MVP, has been having his name in the MVP talks for a while, averaging 28 points, 4 assists, 10 rebounds. Without the addition of Ben Simmons, I mean, he's definitely been taking Philadelphia to new heights, definitely in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference record-wise, and they look like they haven't been missing a beat, obviously, and that's all because of him right there. And his play is just more consistent now. You know, there's no question that he's probably the best big man in basketball in comparison to Jokic, obviously, but true big man status, true center status, Joel Embiid is that guy. The 2 guards that got picked, Trae Young, 27 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. Atlanta doesn't win or do anything without him, of course. They're not up there in those conversations as those teams to be able to compete for the East to come out into the finals, but his play has always been as good. There's no surprise in that. Last but not least, I'm very excited for this dude because he's been going through it, but now he's on the Bulls and he got his 5th All-Star selection out of his whole career, DeMar DeRozan, and it's well deserved. 26 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. He's been playing phenomenal. Obviously, he's with the Spurs. People thought he was done. People thought he'd never win a ring. He'll never get back to the type of player he has, but found new life in Chicago this year. First year, Chicago's playing lights out. They're competing for the #1 seed in the East. And, you know, it's definitely because he is there. Obviously, there's a lot of other pieces we'll get into, but it's because he's there, so I'm very excited to see that. Now, where we really get into our discussion is when we get into these reserves and who possibly could have made it as a starter. But let's get into it. The first name that sticks out to me, obviously, because the All-Star game is going to take place in Cleveland this year, and I think out of respect, it would only be right that you have somebody from the Cavaliers playing in the All-Star game, and that is Darius Garland. I mean, he's only averaging 19 points, 8 assists. You know, and that doesn't look phenomenal. And when you compare them against the guards like Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan, but the Cavaliers are sitting in the 4th spot in the East right now, and that's definitely because of this man. Colin Sexton hasn't been really playing this much, and he's almost on the trading block and trade discussions and things of that nature. But Darius Garland looks like the future for the Cavs. I mean, let's just forget about the statistics right now. If you really watch basketball, watching the film on him and watching him play in games, he just makes everything look effortless and natural and smooth. He's definitely not one of those players that forces the game he doesn't try to force to score. He doesn't try to force to pass the ball. It's like he almost goes out there, and JB Bickerstaff, the head coach, is giving him the freedom to play his game, and he's basically taking what the defense is giving him. He's basically taking what the game is giving him. He's coming off of pick and rolls, taking step back threes because guys aren't respecting his shooting ability. He's just making phenomenal passes to guys like Jared Allen and such. And like I said, it's the Cavaliers. Like, nobody probably would have ever guessed that the Cavaliers would be in the top 4 seedings of the Western Conference. Of the Eastern Conference this season, as they've been doing horrible ever since LeBron left. So, like, that's big props to him. Zach LaVine, who will definitely make the reserves. I know that for sure. And he's probably the favorite to replace Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant can't play an All-Star game. He's averaging 25 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. I definitely think he probably should have started, in my opinion, over Trae Young. I know that's been like a controversial opinion. I mean, if you're thinking about it from a fan perspective, okay, pick Trae Young because he has 27 points. He's averaging 27 points. But if you look at the contribution that he has done with the Bulls behind the scenes, being the leader for that team, he's definitely is the reason why that team is sitting at the #1 seed. I just think that he doesn't get the credit because he's not on SportsCenter every time, or he's not making the game winners. That's DeMar DeRozan. And I mean, in the month of January alone, he's missed 5 games. And so, you know, the All-Star voting is really based on from the start of the season in October-ish to basically January. And you know, if you're not getting put out there by the media, you probably won't get the fan vote, which is majority on the fan vote. Accounts for 50% of the All-Star votes. So you need to win over the fans, you know, to get that selection. But at the end of the day, he's gonna play, and he's probably gonna be a starter and replace Kevin Durant. There's a couple other names I want to get into. LaMelo Ball, definitely. He isn't scoring astronomical numbers, but the way Charlotte has been playing and the template that they're playing at is all because of LaMelo Ball. And like, he's making guys like Miles Bridges even getting their name in the conversation for All-Star picks. And he's just making that team better. Terry Rozier has been playing better because of him. Gordon Hayward has found a whole new different life after his leg injury in Boston and Charlotte. And they have been, even though they've been fighting for like that 8th seed in the East, LaMelo Ball definitely has probably been the best draft pick that Michael Jordan has made ever since he's been with the Bobcats. I mean, you can argue with Kemba Walker as well, but LaMelo Ball is having more success in a short amount of time. The only surprising factor I think from the East that kills me is like the Heat didn't have any starters, and they're the #1 team in the East for sure. But they didn't have any starters, and Jimmy Butler, I know he's only averaging 22 points and about 6 assists and 6 rebounds, but he's definitely been out with injury. But I mean, the team had to win, you know, to fight for that #1 spot and be close in, and that was because of Tyler Hero. He definitely stepped his game up to a whole new level, just not being that 3-point shooter, waiting for Jimmy Butler to dish out the ball or Bam Adebayo to dish out the ball. He definitely can show you he has a full package of moves and game that he has left to show people. Going into the paint strong, which isn't really shown by him lately, not lately, but in the years prior. But I mean, he's definitely the reason that this team is winning. He could be up. I think he is the favorite for 6th man of the year, averaging 20 points. And it's kind of funny that they weren't, not either one of them was starters, and we'll get into that later after I discuss the West lineup. But that's just something to think about. That's kind of weird, you know. But let's move on to the Western Conference. Obviously, everybody knows who's the captain and who got the #1 votes from all the fans. LeBron James. He's definitely competing for that scoring title this year. 29 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds in his 19th year with his 18th All-Star selection. It's just absurd how he's able to play this long and still be considered one of the best in the game. Not just a good player, but one of the best in the game at this age. I don't think it has been a player even close to playing this long and playing this well at a legendary level. And that's no offense to other people that played in the past, but LeBron is just showing unhuman-like things. But that's enough about him. Everybody knows about him. Next, Nikola Jokic. That was the obvious pick. The former MVP. 26 points he's averaging, 7 assists and 13 rebounds. He's averaging a little bit less than what Embiid is in points, but his rebounds, he's averaging like 3 more rebounds than him. And I think he has really been coming that fundamental key in that he's becoming more reliable for the Nuggets. Jamal Murray, who we all know can play exceptionally well, just been bitten by the injury bug year after year after year. But the Nuggets haven't missed a step without, you know what I'm saying, with Jokic. And I think that's the whole purpose, and that was the whole plan for him playing. But, I mean, he's just playing exceptionally good. There's not much more to say, obviously. The next pick, which is in the front court, which is definitely, I'm not surprised. And I see why he was a starter, but, like, I'm very happy for this dude because a lot of people thought he was a bust when he got drafted to Minnesota. And they didn't think he was going to really do well in the league, but like he finally gets his due respect, and that's Andrew Wiggins with his first All-Star selection in his entire career. And I couldn't be much more happier for him. He's averaging 18 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, and people may hear that stat line off the rip and be like, how the heck did this dude get voted? I mean, obviously the fans are respecting a lot more of his play this year. But like, if you don't really watch basketball, you probably wouldn't understand, I guess. No offense, but if you really look at the Warriors, obviously with the loss of Clay for the first half of the season and even last year, Andrew Roy has stepped up into a big role. And now that Draymond Green is out, Andrew Wiggins is the reason that the Warriors are being number 2 in the West. I mean, the way he's able to become a good 3rd or 4th option to account for these points that's usually created by Steph and Clay, as long as he's been able to do that, because I don't think Clay had played in the 2 years before he returned, and he's still on limited minutes now. Like, it shows you that his talent can be used in a different light, and he could become an all-star. You know, he doesn't have to be the man of the team scoring 30 or 40 points a night. That probably isn't his style of play, but put him with other players that know how to win and compete and put him in the right positions to succeed. He's definitely utilized a lot more in the Warriors' offensive scheme, playing down low, being that bigger body that can do that, but also being a good, efficient shooter from the perimeter. And I think that's what the Warriors needed, and he's definitely proven he should be an all-star. So congrats to him. He's also joined by his teammate, no-brainer, Stephen Curry. I mean, if you haven't been watching basketball all year and know about Stephen Curry's level of play, then you might be sleeping under a rock. But, I mean, he's literally, he broke the all-time three-point record this year, such at a young age, but also the fact that he's came out this year playing like no other. I would even go as far as to say that he's probably the best offensive player this year. Not dominant, but the best offensive player this year, and just knowing how to score at will and with ease. Next, I'm really proud of this dude because this is his first All-Star selection, and the way he became a franchise player. John Morant, his first All-Star selection, and just his background where he came from, like being the, you know, 2nd round pick behind Zion, who everybody thought Zion was going to be this perennial superstar, way head and shoulders above his class, excuse me. John Morant has became that person. And the Memphis Grizzlies, for like the first time in a while, have been is competing in the West, sitting at the number 3 spot, and will probably, I say in my confidence, be one of the sleeper teams in the West to make the Western Conference Finals. I could definitely see that. They have played countless times against the Warriors and the Lakers and demolished both of those teams that are used to winning. And it's just big nods off to him. He's averaging 25 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds this season. And even when he missed 10 games and came back, I think he probably missed more than that. But when he came back, he definitely didn't miss a beat. He definitely didn't get affected by the injury mentally or things of that nature. He just, you know, became that much of a great player, and he's even up for MVP talks. It's just crazy of how great he's been playing. Now let's get into these reserves, or people that I believe that might have got overlooked. And this is really getting to the nitty gritty of things. Luka Doncic is obviously going to make the reserves, but I mean, he's averaging 25 points, which is around the same as Steph Curry and Ja Morant. He's a bigger guard, so I think it kind of hurts him that he's labeled as a guard, even though I think he could be in the front court for sure. You probably can put him over Wiggins, but that's not his position. And I think that Wiggins has been more valuable, and he definitely deserved this year. But Luka Doncic, 25 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, averaging close to a triple-double this year. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Obviously, the Mavericks haven't proven that they could be a championship contending team, as they keep making it to the first round and losing to the Clippers, who they seem that they have under locks. But I mean, it's just hard to say, you know, like, he didn't make the starters. Some people probably thought he would with better stats, but you know, I don't think stats is everything, and I think him making the reserves is no problem. He's still gonna make the All-Star game. De'Aaron Fox is a name that we do have to look at, even though he's playing for the Kings and they're not playing very well collectively. De'Aaron Fox really makes that team better. Without him, the Kings have no chance of even winning and even beating teams like the Lakers this year. And he's definitely improved, like 21 points averaging, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. I just think he's under the thumb of the Kings being super bad, so he's not going to get that nod, which I would like to see him on the reserves. I think he can. I think he has a good chance of making the reserves, but we just have to wait and see. But I think his name will be out there and he will make the reserves. Jared Jackson obviously doesn't have the statistics to match up with a lot of the guys in the Western Conference, but when Ja Morant was out, the Memphis Grizzlies really stayed afloat and kept a decent record on winning without him. And it's all because of this dude. I mean, Jared Jackson just knows how to play the game of basketball. He's such a bigger body that can do anything. He's so versatile that the Memphis Grizzlies didn't miss a beat when Ja Morant was out. And I think you have to at least give him some attention for that. And, you know, making it in the front court as a reserve, I don't see anybody else really competing with him. I mean, obviously, Rudy Gobert will probably get that nod over him, being more experienced and probably having a little bit better statistics than him. But I think you should reward him. Definitely when these teams went through crucial moments and they didn't miss a beat. So now I do want to get into the same thing that happened with the Heat. They had the #1 record in the East and they didn't have anybody make the starters. I think you have to kind of look that into a bigger frame of things with the West and the Suns. And this is where the flaws come in with the All-Star process. Chris Paul. So the Suns, if you don't know, have the best record in the NBA, not just the West, but the NBA. They only lost 9 games. They won 39. I think they're 39-9 right now. And they're playing spectacular basketball. And I do want to mention that a lot of people probably didn't expect them to play great basketball. They probably thought last year was a fluke because LeBron, the Lakers was injured, and Stephen Curry was out most games, and they didn't have Clay. And the Portland Trailblazers was going through it and things of that nature. And then Kawhi got hurt. All these excuses. And they were like, well, that's why the Suns made it to the championship game. And I really didn't think that was the case. I really had confidence in the Suns. And I've been saying this even if you watch some of my older videos from on my channel. The Suns have the most complete team in the NBA to me. They have a great mixture of vets in with some younger guys and fresh talent to help them, you know, get into that mindset to prepare when they play these high caliber games against the Warriors and even in the playoffs. They also have that experience, and they also have a great flow of offense through Devin Booker being the main scorer, but having Chris Paul to take control of the game and not have Devin Booker force a lot of things, as you've seen probably last year in the finals. You know, they're triple teaming Devin Booker, Jrue Holiday takes the ball, things of that nature. Like, Chris Paul alleviates all these issues And I don't think he gets enough credit just because he doesn't score 25 points a night. Chris Paul's statistics, let's just put them out there in the air. He averages 14 points a game. Nowhere near spectacular. Let's just put that. If LeBron or Steph Curry was averaging 14 points a game, like, people would be calling him trash right now. So let's not change up that energy. But he's averaging 10 assists a game. That has to speak for a lot. And I'm not saying Chris Paul is nowhere near trash. I just don't think he gets the credit due to him because people like to see excitement and flashing. Like, the fans like to see 30 points. They think if you score 30 points, you're the best player in the league. And I don't think that's absolutely true. And that's where the flaw is at in the system, is that how can you tell me that Chris Paul isn't one of the all-stars in the league, the best players in the league, and if he gets hurt, the Suns will be at the bottom of the barrel? I mean, look at the first year that he came to the Suns. They went to the finals. Before that, the Suns were at the bottom of the Western Conference. They were like not even competing for AC. So like, you think that was just overnight? Like, Chris Paul came and changed the attitude of the team. And Chris Paul has a special ability. If you really watched him everywhere he went in his career, especially after he played for the Hornets, that team went to the playoffs and were even competing against the best. Even when he was with OKC, they were competing with Houston. Made it past the first round and things of that nature when people thought they were just going to be a dud. And, Chris Paul didn't want to be there, but he still took that team far and made that team one of the best contenders in the West. So I think you have to reward a guy like that, in my opinion, especially if you really watch the game of basketball. I think you have to, in my opinion. And it's just absurd that they got the best record in the NBA and they don't have not one starter on the All-Star team. And they might, and the thing that really gets at me, they probably won't even have a reserve. I mean, they just don't get the recognition. And this is why I think it comes into flaw with the fan vote, the media vote, and everything. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that sit there and say, like, oh, the players should have majority of the vote. I don't think that, because I believe that the players, even though they are on the court and they do have the most experience on seeing who they play week in and week out, I think it's going to be a lot of bias with competitiveness inside the players, and also having favoritism with players that they either played with in the past or anything of that nature. And so instead of you really having a consensus of players coming down to one player, I feel like players will throw out 50 million different names and you'll never get to like a solution. And not saying the players are wrong, but if I play in the Eastern Conference and I play in the division with the Bulls and I see DeMar DeRozan 50 times a year or Zach LaVine 50 times a year, am I going to really pick somebody on the Western Coast that I probably don't watch the most? Even if I'm watching game film and things of that nature, am I going to sit there and pick John Morant, or am I going to sit there and pick Andrew Wiggins when I don't even play them like that? They're going to be more biased on tours, who they play and who gives them the most challenges and toughest things. So it's going to be 50 million different names from 50 million different perspectives. You'll never get stuff done. So I think the fans should have majority vote, but this is my problem with the fans vote. The fans vote isn't really controlled by the fans. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of, let's just break it down. How many people do y'all really think that watch the game, like time to time, watch all games across all the franchises in the NBA? And I'm gonna keep it real with myself too. I can't watch every game. Like, it's not feasible for us to watch every game because we have ordinary lives, you know? We have other things to do in our lives. So where do you think we're gonna get most of our reliable source if we don't really push ourselves to watch every game, or at least catch the highlights or game film? You know, we're going to get it from the media. We're going to get it from ESPN. We're going to get it from FS1 Undisputed. We're going to get it from Inside the NBA on TNT. We're going to get it from all these media outlets, but they're only going to show games that are exciting. They're not going to show the Timberwolves and the Kings play. You know, they're not going to show the Suns play like the Spurs. It's just not going to be an exciting game. They're going to show the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. They're going to show the Warriors versus the Suns. They're going to show the Nets versus the Bulls, things of that nature. So whatever the media posts on social media or they put out on the TV outlets, that's where the fans are going to get most of their exposure and information from. And so let's just put in a scenario. In this instance, Kevin Durant, or even, let's just use Kevin Durant for example, right? He got hurt, whatever. Or even DeMar DeRozan. Let's use DeMar DeRozan because it's better. DeMar DeRozan is playing lights out, averaging 26 points for the Bulls. In my opinion, Zach LaVine is really a more key contributor to the Bulls than DeMar DeRozan. Not by much, but a little bit. But you're not going to see that because they're going to put DeMar DeRozan highlights on TV every day. Now, if you take all the top teams in the East or whatever, and you look at where they've been previous years, the amount of improvement that they made is probably like slight. It's like they only made slight improvement. Like the Nets was literally top 2 in the East last year, at least top 3. They lose in the playoffs obviously to the Milwaukee Bucks, who became the champions. But now look at where they at this year. They're top 2, top 3 in the East again, right? Granted, Kevin Durant scoring 28 points is a key contributor in winning. Dude, let's not get that wrong. Let me put that out there. But if we take somebody like Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers, wasn't there last year or the years before, excuse me. And then the Cavaliers were sitting at the bottom of the barrel, like 14th, 15th, 12th seed in the Eastern Conference. Now Darius Garland gets the keys to the organization and is able to have that freedom. They're winning. They make a big improvement than the previous years to 4th in the East. That's a big substantial amount of improvement compared to the Nets, who only had like a slither of like improvement. And they might not even have improvement. They might have just stayed stagnant with all the other issues that they have going on, but that's neither here or there. So are you telling me that Darius Garland shouldn't get a nod to get into the All-Star? Is he, you know what I'm saying? He improved a franchise that was horrible to being one of the best. Rather than KD, he's played with them for 2 or 3 years. They haven't really moved anywhere or showed a big, substantial amount of improvement. So what do you reward more? Stats don't mean everything. They do mean a lot, but they don't mean everything. And I feel like with the with the media, what are they gonna put on TV more? They're gonna put on Kevin Durant's 35-point game, or they're gonna put on Darius Garland and the Cavs beating the Bulls? They're gonna put on KD's 35-point game. And so now the media controls the narrative. The media controls what the fans see and what the fans get and who they're gonna vote for. And the fans are gonna be like, well, either my favorite player on my team is gonna get my vote, or I just see him on ESPN a lot of times. Kevin Durant's been scoring 28. He scored 28 last week. He scored 28 this week. Man, he's definitely getting my vote. And I think that's a little bit knock. I don't think the fans really have majority of the percentage. I think the media has majority of the fans' votes. And that's what makes me say I think the fans are like, how I put it in is like, I think it's basically 70% to 25% media and players. I don't think the fans really have control of that narrative. So that just leaves into question a lot of things on, I think Chris Paul could get a good argument in case of being a snub this year. But, I don't know if he will make the All-Star team. I think he definitely is deserving of it. I just feel like the All-Star game gets way more of a better rep than All-NBA. But, I mean, in actuality, you only have to play the first good half of the season to make the All-Star team. So I don't know what really is the definition of being an All-Star, and what validity does it have. It definitely does have validity. You should get rewarded, but should you get rewarded for minimum to no improvement, or should the guy that took a franchise and flipped it over overnight to make it one of the best competing franchises in the league get a nod over that dude that's more exciting to watch? Questions to be asked. But with that being said, can't wait till the reserves get named. Obviously, Zach LaVine is going to make it for sure. I think Darius Garland should make it out of respect for the All-Star game being in Cleveland, and he's playing lights out and handling things over in Cleveland to put him at the 4th spot in the East. And And there's a multitude of other players. But overall, I can't say that I'm disappointed with who the starters are. They all had good cases for where they need to be at and to be starters. And I'm very excited to watch this All-Star game and to see who else will make the reserves list. Maybe guys that I didn't mention, or even maybe guys that I did mention, and they definitely get their due respect. With that being said, I want you to like, comment, subscribe down below, follow my IG page, and also look at my articles on my website. God bless, love all, peace.